Pegging.
Pegging.
Peg.
You know, I even saw the stream light come in all the way over to the right hand side of my monitor while I was helping Schultzy with this other thing.
Hello, welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast from independent validator teams. We're down to 3 because of a pegging and because of a pego. It's not possible.
Sounds awful.
It's not possible to say the correct thing, is it? In that case, and there's been quite a bit of news this week, hasn't there? I mean, I've just jumped straight into the news because there's some relatively exciting things in there. But how are you guys doing? How are you doing? You doing all right?
I'm watching No.
I'm doing something over here, bud.
I'm doing something over here. I'm not in this fucking podcast. Why are you talking to me? All right, Seb, how are you doing?
Tired, but not too bad. I feel like I'm
Why
coming
are
down
you
with something.
tired, Uncle Dad?
Why
You said
are you
you just
tired?
like fell
Mentioned
asleep
you're
in your
tired.
chair previously.
I did fall asleep for 20 minutes on the chair today.
Like, was that a exhaustion thing or just an
I
old
don't know.
man
It's
thing?
just an old man
Like,
thing. Just every like late afternoon, coffee winds down. You know, well, you don't know. Coffee winds down. You got something. I got watching something finish, and the next thing you know, 10 minutes later, you wake up.
Like
That's
I
what
tend
happens.
to fall asleep when I get in my bed, not like in front of my monitor
To be a,
typing some fucking Ansible or something.
it's literally.
You
It
never.
wasn't so much a narcolepsy thing. It was just, I think I had my feet up. I was watching something. I was waiting for something else to complete, and the next thing you know, whatever.
You
Just
must have
close
I'm
it
out.
in a couple
your
minutes.
desk at some point now. Like that is like a classic.
Yeah, you have to. Right in the middle, even late night, you don't just knock a couple minutes out in that thing.
No, I don't
I
stay
fall
up
asleep
late.
in my mind. Oh,
I
that's
go
true.
to bed at a regular ass
That's true.
bedtime. Like
Sun's
fucking
still up and
9
shit.
o'clock. Yeah, yeah, fuck it is here. Like I've literally gone to bed with the sun fucking high in the sky
Blazing.
because it's not dark until 9 o'clock. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, that's nice.
Here in
Yeah.
the summer with British summertime, it gets dark just before 11 at night.
Really? That late?
Yeah. I mean, so the sun goes down obviously way earlier than that, but it stays
Yeah.
like if you on the solstice, even down in the south of England, like if you go, Glastonbury Festival always happens
Yeah.
on the solstice, and they burn in the stone circle. They burn a phoenix every year at like a wooden phoenix at the opening of the festival, because obviously it's kind of important pagan site, I suppose, and it's also just like a meme as well. But they have to wait till like fucking midnight, because otherwise they'd just be burning twigs in daylight and you wouldn't be able to see shit.
No, but
So
it's like, well, that's not very impressive.
yeah, well, like the first time I went, I was like, this was like 15 years ago or something. Like we got really fucked up because we were like, oh yeah, let's go see them do the fucking thing, and like we just didn't have it just didn't occur to us, right, how late it would obviously be.
You show up at 4, start drinking.
Yeah, because you also go to the festival like way earlier, because it's 135,000 tickets plus like 100,000 support staff or something like that. So it's a huge site, and they try and stagger like people arriving. So you can arrive from like Tuesday. So there's no music until Thursday, I think. So you've basically been getting fucked up in the field for 2 days, and this is one of the first things that's actually like an organized activity or some fucking shit that you can do, and you're like, let's get fucked up and go see the fucking thing. Yeah, it's probably like at sunset at the latest, right? It's just gonna be like, say, like you've been drinking and like getting fucked up for like hours, and then you like wander up to the field like 8 p.m. and it's like, no, it's actually broad daylight, isn't it? And it's the solstice today,
And we're waiting.
Fuck. We fucked up, lads. What have we got with us? Like, can we keep this party going another 4 hours before we fall asleep in this warm field? Yeah. At least one person in our group just fully fell asleep and slept through the entire thing, even though it's like a drumming circle and stuff around them. They're just like face down.
No wonder it felt weird. I was in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Felt awkward.
I felt a general sense of unease, which is a
awkward?
medical condition, about being in the wrong place. You know, No, so I don't think it is medical condition, but I think it is something. I've got a bunch of friends who are doctors, and I think it is a thing you can write as a diagnosis when a patient comes in, and you're just like, I need to record that there is a concern here, but they definitely don't have anything I could diagnose. But just in case something crops up later, they report a generalized sense of unease.
And plus I'm in the center, which is really weird. No Schultz.
Yeah, no Schultze. You're riding proper solo down there.
Yeah. Feel naked and alone. Especially since no one's not even paying attention and just looking at Lego documentation. Did you figure out which server you have in your arsenal that actually runs this software?
Yeah, I found it. Yeah.
Okay.
But then
one.
I just keep getting fucking distracted. Like I was, I can't even find where the fuck is that now?
So,
there we go. Yeah, okay. So
have you noticed how small a bag of M&Ms is now? Like,
what was that?
Well, you know M&Ms. I wanted to sort all the brown
Anyway,
ones.
so I just I was
There's
looking
like
at
5 brown ones in an entire bag. It sucks.
Fuck are you talking about, man? Yeah, anyway, I'm not getting a fucking 10 gig box for a Leo. I keep getting distracted.
Talking about switching topics. Did you get pricing on a Leo box? So in news,
I just saw that one of our friend of the podcast said that he was switching to a 10 gig box. I'm like, fucking what?
Oh yeah. So a Leo, which is a testnet that's starting. I guess testnet 3 is starting soon.
The one that people are allowed to fuck with.
Is that what it is? Is that the official name?
Yeah. Well, the rest of them have been like behind closed doors.
Okay. So that's kicking. Well, I guess there's some distribution this week in terms of getting nodes in the set, and there's pretty high expectations of CPU and some other things. And one of those requirements was a 10 gig line, not a 1 gig line, and so everybody's kind of back and forth on that, because that actually, if you go 10 gig only, you're losing a ton of different providers that a lot of people use. So that actually,
I don't know where people have gleaned that 10 gig. That was an example that I think Dan provided, but in the build guide it says 500 megabits. So
symmetric, which should be a gig, which would be a gig. It would be a gig line. It'd be 500 megabits each way. Yes.
Yeah, because 10 gig is fucking loads.
Yeah, a 1 gig line. A 1 gig line is symmetric 1 gig, right?
A 1 gig line is symmetrical 1 gig, so a gig each way. 500 megs is symmetrical 500 megs, 500 each way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's in
getting.
In the GitHub, and then I think in the Notion doc that was passed around that has that specifically says 10 gig.
Well, I'm putting on a 500 megabit here down under, and we'll see how that goes, I guess. But the machine's going to be OP, so like, maybe that makes up.
What machine spec are we talking here?
I'm getting a 9354 with half a terabyte of RAM and 4 15.4 terabyte drives.
But you're using it for something else, right? Because
it's for something else, but we're just going to use it for a Leo for its maiden voyage.
That's cool.
But it's a baller machine anyway, and the IOPS on those, we had to go Gen 4 NVMEs because it's 3 months wait for Gen 5s, but I mean the IOPS are pretty insane. We're getting these random ass duper store discs out of China.
Sounds enterprise as fuck.
Yeah, duper store. So they're
sort of sounds like the right words for something, but not the thing I'm after, and not in the right order.
Some brand like Samsung spelled backwards or something.
The NAND flash is Kioxia, so
it's good flash chips on a who knows what board.
The board's out of America. So the guy who was selling it to me is like, these are like a lot cheaper than if you were to buy a Samsung, and I'm like, okay, what's the
right?
What's the catch here? And he's like, it's good Kioxia, NAND flash, and the controller's some other good brand out of the United States of America. He said, but they're assembled in China, and people don't like that. And I was like,
So
oh,
they're
not red-blooded
Okay.
Americans don't anyway. Eh? And I said, what was that? It's 40% cheaper. I'll take it. So we'll see how they go. They're on trial. They got like a 5-year warranty. I think it's got a ride endurance of 1.3. So I don't know. We'll give it a.
Who knows?
So
give it a
wait, are
red hot login.
you building these and racking them yourself?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're finally going colo, eh?
So I wanted an Australian machine, but like honestly, I would have to sell both of my kidneys to rent one out of Australia. So we just decided to build one, and I've hooked up with a good colo provider. Obviously, getting fingered on the bandwidth charge out here. Electricity is pretty expensive here as well. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. It's the first foray into colo. If this one works out, we'll probably look at jamming something into Usurper's colo somewhere.
Yeah, I have room.
Yeah. But
It's such a pain
I
in the
think
ass, though.
for higher end machines, I think it makes sense to build something rather than rent it. The rental machines are like a little bit tired too. So
Well, not with a 9354. They're only going to use
Yeah.
a couple of things.
no, but I mean, like even the tired ones, like the 7002, 7004 series, are still quite expensive to rent.
Mm-hmm. They are.
And
Anything
if you-
Epic is going to be expensive, right? Because it
I mean-
it targets like a different market.
Yeah. If you want any kind of decent amount of storage, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's like the big ones, like if you want like if you start getting a 12 terabyte SSDs and stuff, they start really charging for those things.
if you want, but like a 4 TB disc is going to cost you like €50 or something like that a month.
Yes,
Yeah,
not
but
much. Yeah.
We want like 15 or 30 terabyte discs, and then
So like,
fucking-
so that's fully out of what most companies will be able to spec you off the shelf.
yeah, exactly. So you're looking at something custom, and then they're like, well, we've got to buy these and we want to pay them back in 2 months. So
If it wasn't for those discs, you'd probably be looking at, I don't know, most $1,000 a month. So it
yeah,
takes a
over
long time to run up to the cost of what buying all that kit's going to cost you, right?
yeah, I mean, the payoff on this compared to what we're paying now for a far lesser machine, the payoff is 12 months. So that's including our hosting cost. The payoff
That's not
worked out at 12 months.
And that should go down if you add more hardware, right? Because you're basically you have a pretty high fixed cost.
Yeah, so the internet price is high.
Yeah.
So once we add more RUs in the colo, it'll become more economical. So
Yeah. We've been back and forth because we have our big issue is 1 gig lines are pretty cheap around here. 10 gig lines are really expensive. Like 10 gig line for us is like anywhere between 1,500 and 15,000 a month. So they're like they get really pricey. But our 1 gig, like we get a /24 on a 1 gig for $150 a month, which is like really cheap.
so in Australia, if you have to ask how much 10 gig is, you can't afford it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. I'm sure.
It's fucking insane.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, egress, especially if it's like over the internet. I'm guessing if you're in country, well, you can't control that, so it doesn't matter. I'm guessing
Interestingly, though, they did give us unlimited data, so that is generally in the rental space out of Australia or APAC or Singapore.
Yeah.
Unlimited data is not really heard of. You can get it, but
Right.
they charge you for it a lot.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. Especially AP, like usually 10 or 20 terabytes a month or something like that, which is not
yeah,
enough in
10
these
to
situations.
25 terabytes. Like usually top out at 25 terabytes.
Yeah.
For like off the shelf type stuff. But yeah, so I don't know. The gig is 800 Kangabucks, so that's
It's a lot.
500 US. 550.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. You'll have fun with it. You're still going to have to, I mean, even with that, you're going to need some offsite backups of those archives, and you're going to have some other stuff. It's going to be, but you'd have that cost anyway. But it's still going to be pricey.
Well, the good thing about that is like, so this is going into M1 in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get, something else in M2 and use the like 25 gig cross connect with our colo provider, so we don't actually have to go over the internet. We can just back up offsite without going over the internet. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that should be like, a pivot from what we've done to date. So it'll be a interesting learning curve.
All new problems.
Yeah, but it's not critical infrastructure to begin with. Like, we're not running validators or any customer services out of there or anything. So
yeah, we just we're burning through NVMe disks, so that's like a real pain in the ass on our side. Because these are NVMe sticks, they're not drives. So they're like, because these backplanes are really old, so they're basically like 4-port NVMe cards that are sitting in PCI slots. And
sounds like they might have consumer NVMEs in them too.
Well, they're I mean, on the stick side, there really are not enterprise NVMEs and sticks, right? Those are all like 2.5 inch, right?
You can get a Duper store stick.
Yeah, I could find some Duper stores. Yeah, so and like these are lasting. I mean, those things have been there for a couple of years now, but still, like when they fail, there's not like, it's not the same amount of redundancy, right? Like on the SSD side, you can create like a 10 drive SSD array, and I can have hot spares, and the thing just kind of takes care of itself and that type of stuff, which is even though it's a RAID, is a pain in the ass. At least it's redundant. On the NVMe side, you just don't have that, so you have to be planful around that, which is just a bit of a pain in the ass.
So you say you got these sitting in expansion cards? Did you say just like
I have to on these boxes?
Cards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like four port NVMe on a 16. It doesn't really matter, but on a PCI slot. So there's 1 or 2 of those in each of these 10 servers that we have, and then those things get exposed as data stores. So and then those can actually blow up. It's not that big of a deal because most of that stuff that we put on there is more like node based type stuff, and nodes are disposable, so it's not that big of a deal. And then like things that are important, like our monitoring and like Horcrux and that kind of shit, those sit on larger SSD arrays that can have fails. Like, it's not a big deal. So, but it's just somebody's got to go in there, and you get that thing's dead, then it can die. But then at some point I got to reboot that server, because I got to go in there and replace that fucking thing. But to reboot it means everything that's on that needs to go down. And that might be okay, it might not be okay. And it takes forever to shut down. And then somebody's got to go do it. And like, bleh. Anyway, you'll see.
We'll see.
Once one of those fails, you'll be like, fucking hell.
What's the what do they call it? What's the smart endpoint for like the percentage used?
That doesn't really matter though. Doesn't even tell you.
3,000%.
No, I think these NVMEs have failed. Probably, I think in Zavix it probably showed less than maybe 100%, 140. Some of those were less. They're all like, but again, they're just kind of, anyway. Rama says enough, no complaining. Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, that's what this is about, man. That's why we come on here.
First bitching about not enough preamble, and then too much preamble.
Too much. We're only 20 minutes into talking about storage, man.
I'm not looking at my fucking spreadsheet. Okay. Drill tweet of the week. It was not last week.
Oh, it's early.
Yeah.
So, Usurper.
Yep.
Say when.
Stop.
Jesus. Okay. Left
Is that
page
the section?
Right. The section is dogs.
Oh, okay. I like dogs.
I like dags.
You like dags?
I like dags.
Left page or right page?
Let's see. Left.
Yep.
Reader's choice. Just find a good one. Find something that tickles.
Yeah, we're just gonna go for the middle one, which is, what's the job where you dress up like a Michelin man and get attacked by vicious dogs? Anyway, that's the thing I spent $80,000 at college for.
You have to go to college to do that?
I think that's the joke.
That's the
Oh,
joke.
right.
It's not a comedy.
It's comedy. It's
God.
not a comedy.
It's not a comedy.
I tried. I can't get it. I tried.
What was that? What was that hockey thing you posted? You
Oh,
said
that's so that
you
I
fucked
was
my brain up. I was like, I feel like I should know this reference. This must
that's
be
a
thing.
clip from Slapshot with Paul Newman. If you've ever seen that movie, that's a great movie. I'll put the link in the show notes.
Link in
Great
show notes,
American 70s. I don't know what year that is. I'll take a guess.
Must be Newman.
I'll
It's
guess
not
it's
big.
like 79, 78, maybe 80. Great hockey movie about the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's awesome comedy. Should be watched.
Slap shot, not
Slapshot.
slap,
Yeah.
not slap chop,
Slap Shot,
not slap chop.
a Paul Newman classic.
Okay,
Paul Newman's in it. How bad can it be?
Okay.
slap chop today. Slap your troubles away. Okay, slap shot, slap shot.
Add it to your list. 77. Hey, that was close.
Okay.
Yep.
I will.
So
I will if it's on
usurper.
fucking Netflix, I'll find it. Let's do it.
Oh, it's definitely in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the Cosmos made some other progress this week, Serp, that you might be interested in. I know the Fray doesn't give a fuck. But
Can I throw in a piece of news first?
sure.
You may.
Because okay, so this only matters to people, maybe only matters to people in the UK, but it is interesting. Is that last week there was I think Thursday, so just after the show aired, there was a working document published by I can't remember these fucking groups. Like they're important, but all the titles are so yeah. The Technology Working Group to the Asset Management Task Force issued an interim report on UK fund tokenization. The big thing here basically is fund tokenization in a regulated way and the FCA being okay with it. So it's kind of interesting, but also like low-key kind of not, because it only covers funds using ledgers for essentially a system of record, right? And it kind of seems like a bit of a meme to me. Like, when you're like, I'm not sure if I get what's going on here.
Yeah. All the time in this show.
Yeah, well, sure, but if they're just using it as a database, essentially, but a distributed one, then it's a meme, right? Because why not just instead get every hedge fund in the world and tell them to run Apache Cassandra and then just expose a port to each other, and then they have fault tolerance. And
Right.
And if any of those hedge funds gets blown up by a bomb, well, the other hedge funds will know. I mean, and that is literally how international banking, I assume, currently operates with some kind of sharded distributed databases, right?
One would hope.
One would hope. So the fact that it's sort of private, but it's also sort of in the public, kind of just seems like you're asking somebody to just grief your record, right? Because the ledger can be rewritten. I think a lot of this stuff that's been done so far is on Polygon. So I don't know like what level of, I don't think they have the same governance drama or any of that stuff that Cosmos has. But
So what did they approve exactly? They approved something? Is that what you're saying?
so they've sort of greenlit a slow burn path to fund tokenization. So it's like TradFi using public ledgers to represent funds. And there's at least one company that has a regulated exchange where certain people could buy those funds, which are ultimately represented on chain. So something like, what was that Cosmos chain that like kind of failed to launch?
Gotta be more specific than that.
That one that failed to launch that was all about ETFs. What was that called?
Oh, defund.
Yeah.
Defund,
So imagine defund, but it's
Yeah.
actually a regulated financial institution that can sell you a fund.
But
And
are they packaging them up in some sort of group of assets? It sounded like what you were talking about before was more like a CBDC. It sounded like it was just like we want to use a ledger for a digital currency, but that currency has to be backed.
there's no,
That's kinda
there's
what
no
you sound-
currency involved. They're issuing a token that represents shares in, say, like an ETF or a fund.
Oh, so it is. Oh, it is a representation of some other financial asset, like some sort of
It's
fund
not the asset
type
it's-
structure.
Yeah, it's a representation of the asset. Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean?
Well, it means that the asset, the representation of the asset is living on a public ledger, and then ultimately, I guess is going to be, if it was to be traded or redeemed or whatever, would be redeemed via one of those regulated players that has currently a private regulated exchange for their investors.
I got it.
To use those funds.
Okay. So if I own a token of a certain amount, I own that in some other financial type of thing. If I turn that in, they burn that and I receive the actual financial whatever. That type of
I
idea.
think that's essentially it. So
essentially the idea.
The mechanics of it, really, the report isn't interested in mechanics, implementation, any of that stuff. It's just interested in like the regulatory framework. But I do look at this and I go, well, I mean, if that is actually a representation of the asset, then what happens if there's a cyber attack? What happens if you get owned? What happens if there's a governance attack? It is an interesting question. I don't know how much like the implementers or the regulator actually. I mean, they all seem like smart enough people. The people I've actually interacted with in any way, but
yeah,
I don't know to what extent like there is risk involved in this in any way, or whether it's because like the thing is, it's like, is it the system of record? Like, is it the system of record, or is there also Postgres running over here? Because I bet you there's also Postgres running over here, and I bet you if Polygon shits the bed or gets attacked, they just turn it off, go back to Postgres, and go, don't worry, fun Seifu.
So they did select Polygon, like some sort of contract or representation on Polygon in some sort of way.
My understanding is the pilot, the current pilot that is in use, that's referenced in the fund tokenization report, is referring to a implementation on Polygon.
Why would they even need a public blockchain? Like what they're saying is they're basically saying blockchain as a technology makes sense for this use case, but DeFi is bullshit. So which okay,
and as a member of the public, you can't even buy it. Like you can't even interact with it.
Yeah, so they could run 10 servers in a fucking data center and have a blockchain that says, hey, it's immutable, which, yes, it's a database that has structure around it for sure, and they get the same benefit. Like, I mean, it doesn't make any sense why they'd even use a public chain. Like, what,
yeah, my only understanding,
inspection.
This is why I'm like, there must be something I've misunderstood from what this pilot use case is saying, and what that current implementation is. Because why? Because I also know that like obviously the inputs and whatnot will be like hashed. It's not like they're going to be like, this is not like it's going to be an NFT with a memo field that says this NFT represents $500,000 worth of X asset. Like obviously it's not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you looked at a series of assets that were being issued on Polygon and you looked at the source wallet or the minter contract, and you were like, well, this is clearly run by one entity, and it looks like they have a specific pattern of usage and lifetime. It looks like they're all moving back to this one point and then they're coming back out again. Yeah, they seem to have, just random hashes in them or whatever. I mean, look,
so who's running that?
You've got security by obscurity, right? But it doesn't mean that somebody can't see that in the open and go like, I wonder what that is and whether or not it's valuable in some way. Because even disrupting it could potentially be valuable, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no different than anything else, right? Yeah. But so who put that out? Where's that from?
I'll add a link to the show notes.
I put a link in there.
It's the very, very catchy interim report from the Technology Working Group to the Asset Management Task Force with
what's that acronym?
Yeah, exactly. With the assistance of the UK Investment Association and the.
So is this like a government agency of some sort, or is it a bunch of?
So it's a private private body with the sort of pseudo blessing of the FCA, which is the regulator. So the FCA is the regulator, and they've sort of held hands throughout this process, and the FCA has basically said, okay, that seems like a reasonable blueprint to start taking this forward. Now you've kind of done some pilot stuff. My understanding is that if you are a company working with any kind of tokenized fund representation in the UK, what is going to happen next is probably that the FCA is going to ask you to say, get in touch, essentially. Mm-hmm. And they're probably going to make you register in some way. I don't know if there'll be a financial cost involved in that, or whether it will just
Right.
be putting yourself on a register of companies that are working with the technology in some way. But
Right.
almost everybody working with funds, like as in a fund, is in TradFi is already going to be regulated by the FCA anyway. So
Right.
I don't know.
Like-
It's a sort of a weird one because like obviously you don't need to register with the FCA if you were just running a private blockchain because nobody cares. And I don't get why you need to use a public blockchain other than maybe an investor wants to look at the look at ETH scan on their mobile phone while they're on the toilet. That's the only use case I can think of.
As one does. So
yeah, I mean,
so I guess
we'll look at mint scan on the bot.
And it would have to be new assets, right? Because you couldn't mirror an ownership structure or anything else from some other data source onto that chain, right? So
the long-term play must be YOLO DeFi.
It seems like it's a baby step towards,
yes,
right? Like we haven't figured out how to actually put an asset on chain and collateralize it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we are going to say we're going to keep this shit on the side and trust us. If you want to make a change, we're going to make a change, and you're going to see that change, and then that change actually gets reflected. And when you want to actually sell this thing, we totally got you, bro. We're going to go sell it on this side because you're kind of trusting us to make that sale, right? Or you're trusting us to make that move because we're the broker of all the actual transactions on chain, right? Basically,
my guess at the moment is it's blockchain, but Postgres is running over here. If anything goes wrong, they just
have a backup
data off Postgres and they say fuck it,
right?
The experiment failed, right?
Right.
But presumably, the long-term plan is to be any of these firms that are involved in this process, any of the stakeholders that are involved in the process, presumably have clients who are big enough that want some exposure to digital assets, and they're going, okay, look, if we are the first to jump here and we take on a bit of risk and we just do something that actually doesn't really do much, it's technologically kind of noddy, but whatever, it gets us in the space, it gets us on a public blockchain. Then when we start being able to maybe suggest, for high what's it called, like the accredited investors you have in the US, like maybe in 5 years time they get to go, oh well, what if we could do certain types of DeFi on our funds but only for accredited investors? Because the other thing that's obviously a part of this framework is KYC AML, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's half the report is KYC AML, and it's just like all of these firms,
sure it is. Yeah.
All these firms are already registered with the FCA. They already blah blah blah. Like it's that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So yeah, my guess is that it must be just a long-term play to try and be the first mover that gets to YOLO DeFi for very wealthy individuals and organizations. That seems like the only way it makes sense. Otherwise, why use a public blockchain, right? And also, why use Ethereum adjacent blockchains?
Well, I mean, that would be the case. You could make that case for anything, but yeah, agreed.
Well, yeah, why not use YOLO on Aptos where it's objectively faster?
Right. Or
also, there's not a huge amount of transactions on Aptos at the moment, so there's no congestion for you to compete with.
There you go. Always taking the positive side of things.
No, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I don't know why everybody is always so down on my worldview. I've just said, like,
Chihuahua's wide open.
Look, if I was the Aptos Foundation, what I'd be doing right now is I would be going to central banks and being like,
oh, they definitely are.
Yeah, I would be going like, we can undercut this stuff. We'll just
look,
a VM.
I'll put a link in the show notes, but there was just a Medium post that came out from the Aptos team at the back end of our preview net 2. And let me see if I can find it real quick. Maybe I'll try to quote it real quick. Oh, come on, fucking history.
We need the technical difficulties.
I can't find it, but
yeah.
Anyway, but part of that in there.
I don't know how you could find it, like among all of your notes.
I'm just going through the history because sometimes Chrome-based tools. Let me see if I can find it where it says around credit. Nope, doesn't have it in there. There was somewhere in that, either it's in the article or I'll link back to the Twitter stuff as well. But whenever TPS came up and the transactions per second as part of this, their yardstick was credit cards, right? So like like that always comes back. That's which we've seen before. It's not just Aptos, which is it's a good like yardstick to use. But people say, okay, it's 30,000 transactions a second, or we were sustaining 24,000 for today at these complicated transactions for 24 hours without issue, and 2 billion transactions over 2 days or whatever the heck it was. And then that's a good number, but people can't relate to that. So what they do is they actually always relate it back to credit, and they say, well, the all credit houses, kind of average around 1,800 transactions a second. So we're already, way more, and blah, 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 blah. So I guarantee chains like this, which they should be doing, like absolutely should be doing, but they're probably doing a bit of a roadshow around some of these types of things and say like why this is better, right? Because your Postgres example is right, but like in the credit industry, when you have like multiple houses and you have all these delayed transactions and reversals and all this type of stuff, like the ledger there is, good Lord, like that's complicated shit, right? So it's a good use case and I would assume these houses are already looking at it, or they're running in house or something else. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean it's going to end up public, but
You would thought so, yeah. Well, but then again, like also, I think there a lot of this is something I saw with some fintech providers in the UK and Cosmos during the bull market. Was that people came along to meetups and they were talking about doing in-house projects, and they definitely were working at fintech companies, right? And
Sure.
probably more TradFi fintech companies, right? Those people have dropped off my radar. I haven't really heard from people doing that sort of stuff since things have gone a bit south. I don't know if that's because those programs got canned because the market cooled, or whether it is because, and again, like I know I'm down on the Cosmos SDK, but I genuinely think there is a little bit of like, it is hard to work with. It is Byzantine. The amount of people you can find who are professionals to work with you on it is relatively small.
Yeah.
But I think like in terms of like pure off the shelf, you could literally get it running in 5 minutes. Just as like a hello world example, the Cosmos SDK was one of the best examples of that for doing like an in-house skunkworks project. So that was why I think I saw people doing that, and I heard of people and I met people doing that with the Cosmos SDK, but I haven't heard much since. And so what I kind of wonder is for those, because obviously I don't know about every ecosystem, but my perception is that there are very few very generalized, like off the shelf blockchains that you could do like a very minimal project with and then iterate forward, because either blockchains are kind of proof of work or very special case or very minimal. They're literally just like here's how baby's first blockchain works, right? And just a really, really simple blockchain. Or they're like, okay, well, it's a smart contract platform. And as soon as you have a smart contract platform with a VM, it's not always the case, but it's usually the case that the VM is very closely tied to how the blockchain works, because the types of transactions that you get going through your smart contract VM are obviously going to affect how you want to optimize the consensus engine, the storage engine, things like that, right? And that's what you see with Aptos, right?
Mm-hmm.
They aggressively optimize for the types of transactions and the use cases they think they're going to have, like mints and whatnot. And the thing that you can't really do that in the same way in Cosmos without really kind of like deviating quite heavily from the base template of the SDK that everybody else is using.
Sure.
If not actually like starting to rewrite parts of the stack lower down, right?
But they could.
Yes.
Right. I mean, like we talked about moving the base SDK over to Rust, right, which was a project that was happening. And like this team has rewritten this consensus engine like 3 times since we've been working on it.
Yeah. Well, right? I mean, they have a lot of money, and
that's the difference, right?
Well, they have tens of millions of dollars to throw at the problem, and they demonstrably have experts who publish papers on this. That
I think it's an expertise thing. I don't know. I'm not saying funding doesn't play a role, but
to give you a genuine, like obviously, I know that there are the pockets of blockchain expertise in academia are like very spread out, right? And not everybody is on top of every single thing that's happening. Like some people are cryptographers, some people are consensus experts or distributed systems engineers, or they're physicists who like there's the paper that we were talking about. I was talking about with Schultzy in the group earlier about approaching physical limits, right?
Yeah.
Which is all about speed of light on distributed. It's a really interesting, and we've literally seen that over and over again in networks, right? Null runs into that problem all the time. So there's people who have like very, very specific expertise in very, very specific things, but the it feels like there is, especially on like the kind of consensus bit, and then the smart contract bit, and the move language. Those three chunks all could be people who would never necessarily know what the others were working on, but they have experts in all of those fields who have done work that has led to SWI and Aptos. So on that level, I think they do have a technical advantage. It is my perception based on talking to real academics in the space and going like, oh, but you know about the implementation of this that's in Aptos in production right now.
Yeah.
And people go like, I was aware of a paper, a working paper in 2021.
Right.
And you're like, oh no, the working paper is now a published paper and it's now in production.
And it's already gone through multiple revisions and test nets and this and that, right? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if that's I mean, we're way off topic, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that's so much, is it cash or is it motivation? And it feels like that team that we work with on the Aptos side seems very focused. And I know they're going after specific markets with that technology, right? And that might be led by investors, which they have a significant number of large, well-backed investors who are probably help guiding them around specific markets. Like I could see credit being one of those. I could see anything that has large transactional type structures to say, this is a better solution for that. It's more distributed. It's more blah, blah, blah. Right. And they would also have the ability to create opportunities to go change those markets with that technology, showing that it's proven, showing that it's tested, and kind of building a roadmap of basically dominoes to knock down, trying to get to some sort of piece where this technology gets used for a global credit type system or a payment transaction or something else, right? That's used in those types of areas. Like on in the Cosmos ecosystem, like we have a lot of use cases like that are kind of separate, that are solving a small problem using that technology. But I don't know from maybe it's an ICF thing, or maybe it's from an underlying technology that everybody uses. Is that same direction there? Like they're not trying to solve this 30,000 TPS problem. Like it's clear, right? Nobody has any interest in doing that because that's not maybe the focus. So is it just like, hey, here's this thing, we can go build some stuff and we can make it go a little bit faster if we wanted to, and we can't really push it too far, but it's open and anybody can use it, and it's extremely available to be able to use and extend, which we've seen, and maybe that's enough, right? Which I guess has been for DYDX and Say and others.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I could be wrong about this, but I think my hot take, purely from having been in the Ruby on Rails community in the 2000s, would be that Ruby on Rails was a great technology. It really did like push forward web development in some important ways, and the ergonomics of it being able to scaffold a simple application for most use cases inside of 5 minutes, and then spend the rest of your life maintaining it in great amounts of pain and increasing pain over time. It sounds a lot like Cosmos. And the irony of Cosmos, right, is that they said that it's the Ruby on Rails of blockchains. What happened with Ruby on Rails, of course, is that some of the smartest people in Ruby on Rails jumped into other ecosystems, like Clojure, for example, was full of Rails people when I first started working in Lisp. Node.js was full of Rails people going like, we've got to have a great build system. We've got to have great templating. And ultimately, other languages and other frameworks got more mind share and took those ideas further and into like, look at like Node.js now, like look at isomorphic JavaScript and all of that stuff. I mean, like there were aspirationally people were trying to do that with Ruby in 2004, but couldn't obviously do the isomorphic front end stuff in the same way. Settled on CoffeeScript instead. But a lot of the pain learned through that Ruby on Rails implementation path and the various versions of Rails and the merge and all that kind of crazy stuff, which only Ruby people will remember. Ultimately, Ruby on Rails became a dead technology sometime in the mid 2010s. There are still obviously a lot of legacy sites built during it, but you wouldn't do it today, right? But it was a great technology while it lasted, and it did so much to push the space forward. And like I think in some ways that
Tendermint, I would agree Tendermint is in that case, right? I mean, it's not
lack
dead though. I mean, I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
but,
it's not
but
dead.
it's
like,
pushed
but
that. I mean, it's
legacy.
clearly pushed the
on the
space
verge of
forward, right?
legacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty is that like without a core technical roadmap that is
Centralized. Is that the word
yeah,
you're searching for?
open source. This is the thing. Open source projects need good core central vision. That is
They
the
do.
reality.
They
And
do.
I think the problem is we're too used to cosplaying decentralization in Cosmos at the expense of pragmatism. And one of the big learnings that teams will take away from the Cosmos
Mm-hmm.
is to work out when to spend your bickies on decentralization. And like,
Yep.
and I think all of us kind of have the view that if you're going to do decentralization, do it on the right thing and do it as actual decentralization, not decentralization theater, would be a good learning. You know, for things like the actual investment structure, the roadmap, the vision, the adoption path, the business like development, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Does anyone give a shit if that's centralized? Really?
Not
I'm
if
sure.
it makes
I'm
money.
sure lots of people do.
Yeah.
I don't, because I think I think once it has a momentum of its own, that might sort itself out, and it will naturally spread out the mind share. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Linux, right? You get lots of different distributions, you get lots of different opinions. It becomes an ecosystem. Happy days, right?
But
It's not just
the
Linux
kernel, but the kernel to continue this nerdy relationship, the kernel is quite centralized from a leadership perspective. Like
That is
Linus
true.
he still drives direction on that kernel, and they still control what goes in and what goes out, even though that's gotten obviously extremely large in terms of contributors and structure. That roadmap is still, I don't think it's as centralized as it was, but it still has a daddy, right?
Yeah.
And that daddy has a vision for where that goes. And now obviously it's kind of achieved all its objectives, but in the early days, like you hear stories about how centralized that was in terms of like flat out rejecting change and fuck you, we're not doing this and those types of things, which again, for the time and place, it worked, right?
Well, remember, Git, the technology, is named after Linus referring to his own management style, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, because his joke about Git was, I name all my projects after myself.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go.
There you go. I learned something today. All right, Noel, what were you going to talk about 20 minutes ago?
Fuck if I know. Can't remember.
I don't remember either. Did you solve Pego?
No. That's
Pedagogue, or did you get Pegoed?
So actually, I was going to mention that for us Cosmos people, operationally, there is an improvement that is going to happen on the chain registry. Thanks to Schultze, they're going to add the fucking Go version, so you can now implement that in your automation.
That's all part of Schultz's goal of never having Ansible variables associated to any chain data.
Beautiful.
In the repo, not on Cosmos.directory. That's a good goal. I like that goal. It's totally
So now we can put a Go check at the start of every upgrade, so we don't have to fucking initiate the upgrade twice every single time.
He says, "Damn straight." That's my issue with that too, is because there's always like a little piece of information that's missing out of there. Even
it's always you try to do the upgrade, then you go back and you fucking install the right version of Go, and then you do the upgrade again. So
yeah, especially
annoying.
Ones that are lagging, which is a little bit annoying.
Yeah, you're always going between like 1.19 and like 1.23.
Yeah, I bounce between. Well, actually, I think we have ones on 19, 20, and 21, and some sort of thing.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to start on the news?
Yeah. Noel, do you want to shoot? Because there were a couple of pieces in there that excited you.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I've been completely distracted because the stuff you've been talking about was boring as fuck. Which one do you reckon interests me? I don't see any.
Let's talk about row 18.
Aren't you a heavy investor in Coinbase's coin now?
Coinbase's coin? Is that the USDC?
No.
What is coin? What is $ coin? Is there a coin? A coin? Well, who knew?
Imagine
time
the
to
dumbest
update the
thing.
system.
Imagine the dumbest thing you can imagine, and
So-
then dumb it down some more, baby.
Okay, let's go. It's time to update the system. BlackRock, Coinbase's video. We're born into it. We
Have you
work
watched the
hard,
video now.
get good grades, and go to college. Debt is good. Debt is so good. It's time to update the system with Coinbase. Buy coin.
The video is absolutely cringe. It is the cringiest thing. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. If you look on Coinbase's Twitter, I'll post it in the chat. It's, oh my god, it literally will hurt your retinas. Sound on as well for full cringe effect.
Not right now, though. Robert says, please put it on.
Devastating stuff.
Yeah, I guess, like, is this the link here?
That is, in fact, the link. People in the Twitter comments love it, though. It's the greatest ad of all time.
No, your
Oh, my
mic's
goodness.
on, you idiot.
All right, I'll put that one in the show notes.
I've
It's
taken matters in my own hands.
something.
Okay, it's yeah. Do you know what I don't know, it trips all of the worst cringe things, doesn't it? Because, you know, when it's a bunch of nerds who are trying to sell you something, and that something is a risky asset on a blockchain, you're like, yeah, okay. You're like, the system. It's like, no, you're just trying to do first mover advantage on a last sucker Ponzi. Like, you're not trying to change anything. You're just trying to get over the fact that we are at a stagnation of economic and social policy by enriching yourselves and then exiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this script before. Don't play like you're the good guys. Very occasionally you see an interesting idea in the space and you're like, okay, they might actually genuinely believe what they say and think is a good thing, and maybe it is actually a public good. But that's like 1%. And then the rest of them, when it's like category A and they're a massive company and they're backed by, you just like, oh dear. It's like, you know, when you go to a nightclub and there's like somebody who's just like, you're embarrassing yourself, you should go home. You've had one too many.
Rama says his comment was, Coinbase seems very brave taking on the system after the lawsuit dropped. I agree with that too. Like, we got this far. Fuck it. Let's put this thing out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, we've had the lawsuit drop. Let's just YOLO a shit.
Let's see
let's
get sued again.
Right.
Right.
Mean any fucking thing.
I'm now up to date, and that was very cinematic.
That's a glowing review, Mel. You look changed. You look transformed. You look ready to fight for the future.
The future's fucked, according to Coinbase. It's fucked.
Well, it's fucked if you buy Coinbase's ICO.
I love their cringe comments as well.
I know, they're all so positive.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Like,
well done. Give this.
At least they did
a
admit that
raise.
they're biased. So
yeah. Do
Yeah.
you know what? It's back to the thing that Rama said. Like, if you accept that crypto is just like about forgetting the day job, having a bit of a YOLO, mucking around, which I think it is for most people, that's fine.
That's not
But,
this
like,
ad.
But yeah, this ad is like, it's just such hopium, isn't it? You're just like, look,
Put it in the Super Bowl.
yeah, exactly. You're just like, look, the answers to life and like all that other stuff are really boring. It's work hard, pick a career where it's not the most interesting thing, but it is well paid and you can achieve mastery and then get better paid. And then just grind that fucking thing and save 30% of your salary and put it into things that appreciate with compound interest. That's how it works. It's not hard. That's how pension funds work, right?
I guarantee this ad actually will be in the Super Bowl. Now that I'm looking at the way it's shot and like the cinematography of it and everything else, yeah, this is headed that way.
Oh my
It
god!
definitely-
Maybe the next one.
This is why people hate people in crypto. This is why people hate us. This is why
Well,
we can't say what we do for a living.
that and there's no more celebrity sponsorships of crypto type shit. That's it. Those days are nobody's stepping up in that anymore. Not
Yeah,
that
can you
somebody else
imagine
just got picked up, right? Didn't somebody else?
What celebrity would front this? Do you reckon? It's just
I know.
so cringe, isn't it? Who?
It's like Helen Mirren's
This video would
grandmother or
have
something.
cost. This has cost the entire fucking like node budget for King nodes for the whole year. Just to
This
make
is.
that
Do you know what
fucking
this video is like? This video is like, you know, if there was like a celebrity endorsement of it, and then somebody called them out on it, they'd be like, if you were paid what I was paid to do this, you'd have said yes too. That would be the only explanation. 100%. Get Louis Theroux to do it, something like that.
Perfect.
It was at this point I was noticing some hostility towards myself from the Coinbase executives as I asked more questions about their investment scheme.
It's funny. Too funny.
Oh,
These
Yeah, I don't know.
comments are so fucking
Bad, isn't it?
blowhard.
They are. It's
Which
like,
agency did this? The
and like
Coinbase creative
and it's
team.
weird. And the Coinbase is responding to every one of those. Like, yeah, like they're all over it.
Give
Let's
this
see
ad
what else.
agency a raise, please.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think last week, I'll pick up another piece of news while you read those comments and enjoy your snack.
It's breakfast time.
Oh yeah. I think per us calling it out, was it last week or the week before, related to some of the notional excitement? But a proposal number 104 on the Cosmos Hub has been put forward to, yes, claw back 120,000 Atom left in the vesting wallet. I think that's what it is, right? Oh no, there was 120,000 originally. There's 90,000 left that are locked and vesting. And I think the idea is being able to pull all this back.
What do you think the likelihood of that going ahead is? I don't think it'll happen. Are they still meeting their obligations? They put out their report, man.
Don't
They've done the report.
put. I mean, does that matter? Does the contract make any difference? Does the promises made or not made make any difference?
Drama
in this?
and logic both stand in the same room?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, the paper I'm writing at the moment is infinitely improved in its central thesis by this new development. Let me just tell you,
It's amazing.
it's just when you're researching all the times that stuff like this has happened in crypto, and you're like, wow, it seems really confined to Cosmos. I wonder if it's going to happen again sometime soon. And you're like, bam, just when we're at the pre-draft stage. I'll probably get some karmic comeback for chuckling at that.
Zachy commented here, I think the appropriate thing to do is claw back the funds and have notional or a successor proposal. We should develop a new account type with native clawbacks. Comparisons to Prop 16. Why am I getting buzzed now on my fucking microphone? Comparisons to Prop 16 are inappropriate. The community fund proposal contemplates a clawback for dispute resolution, and this seems to be required in this setting.
Can I point out the obvious to Zachy, which is that DAO already does this, and they should just next time, just fucking put that money into DAO on Osmosis or Juno. And then they could just cancel the vesting, or even pause the vesting rather than canceling if there was a dispute in flight.
Why bring in? Let's just use the straight governance proposal structure that we have. That's extremely limited with yes, no, whatever's.
Yeah, and then we can implement an entirely new account transaction type with all of the scaffolding, bike shedding, and merge hell that involves to get through that one type. That would be fucking cool. That would be great. Let's do that.
Exactly.
So yeah, anyway, I don't know why they're not just using DAO. They should use DAO. But I guess it didn't exist at the time. But
I don't know if it would matter, would it?
Wait, no, it did fucking exist. No, whatever, man. They just whatever. The hub gonna be the hub. They're gonna do hub things.
This is a hub thing.
They're gonna do hub things.
This is an amazing hub thing.
Not our fault. So, oh man, I had to watch that Coinbase thing again, and I just regretted it.
You watched it again, is that what you said?
Like it is almost like The Room level bad. it's almost like, bad good. It's so, but I think it might just be bad. I think it's just bad. I think it's just cringe. I don't think it's bad good. It's just bad. Oh, just every bit of it. You're just like, I'm being talked down to, and my intelligence is being insulted. and of all people, I won't be talked down to by Coinbase because you people are fucking stupid. It actually made me. The first time I watched it, I cringed. I think this time it just pissed me off.
This is yeah. Anyway,
it's bad. Anyway, so clawback, happy days, all fun and games. Smithers released the hounds, right?
This is not Prop 16.
It's not a tuba. It's not a tuba.
This is a different type of
changing
the blockchain.
This is a different type of changing the blockchain. This one,
same end result, but totally different. Totally different.
Because this one can be done automatically via a governance proposal without any custom. Oh wait.
Fuck.
Oh wait. No. It is the cancel vesting contract, which is actually non-trivial. Okay. Cool. Great. So all fun and games.
Yep.
I love it. Just if we learn from any of our mistakes, that would be fantastic. But we obviously choose not to. So
where is the fun in that, my boy?
Nah. Fuck all that. Anything else in the news you want to talk about?
Where is the news?
That's a good start. That's perfect. Where is that tab? Do we have that tab? In other news, we are live. Well, we're not live. We're hosted on OmniFlix TV. So omniflix.tv. There is a Game of Notes channel. There is 10, 12 episodes up there so far. We're going to pump up all the back catalog. We've been talking a lot with the OmniFlix team related to just some of our challenges, feedback related to kind of just the structure of it. So we will have 91 episodes up there this week, which is pretty cool. I was telling you,
and you can make a donation.
You can pump some flicks towards us. Yeah.
To the Payrama Fund.
Actually, I think, maybe that's a good idea. So those will be up there. We'll put those links. We'll start including those links in probably in the podcast link and maybe in Twitter and things like that, because it can go directly down to the episode. And we have some feedback. Again, like I said, we have some feedback related to just the structure of it and some of the items related to having to do polls and kind of the order of channels and how to structure this and just making it more user friendly, which I really want to be able to do. So which right now I think it has some areas to be able to grow, but again, it's doing pretty good. So that means these gems will be all stored and saved within IPFS. We're going to add that. We have some IPFS nodes. I'm going to start pinning these collections as well, so we have another copy of them just in case. But it's not a big deal. And yeah, so it's kind of cool. I think we were joking. I think right now in total interactive videos on OmniFlix TV, there is 277, of which 10 of ours are ours. I think I did the math, and at some point, gaming nodes will be 25.2% of OmniFlix TV. So we're obviously going to push towards total domination.
33.6, right? As soon as we 33.4.
As soon as we get to that, we're going to push for a name change. Yeah, we're gonna. This is gonna be Gone.tv. We'll see what happens. Sisla, FYI, we're coming for you.
FYI.
So yeah.
We want the flip. I was about to say we want the dog, and then I was like, I have no idea what reference from my deepest subconscious that is. Whoever can remember what film that's from.
I do
anyway.
Not. And then I noticed
other news.
And also on this list, like as Null always points out, we're right next to a bunch of channels with busty chicks. So we're right at a true NFT location, because there's always NFTs of busty chicks. So there we are. We're all in there.
Amazing.
I mean, it's a good trend,
Rama says, speaking of which, someone execute the proposal. Jeez, fucking bossy.
Oh shit! Is that still
the new?
Wait,
is he talking about like last month's pay?
I thought I executed.
Oh yeah, it did pass. We just didn't send it.
Okay,
I actually, I voted on it, but maybe it didn't end yet, or I don't even know. It's not really
I
high.
don't know.
Honestly, it's not
I'm
high on
pretty
my
sure.
priority
I'm
list
pretty
there,
sure
Rob.
I executed it, but maybe I didn't because I'm a fucking idiot.
Good thing
I'll take the bullet for that one.
Gentle reminder: the Dow's tapped out.
Good thing. Yeah, I know.
I think that
Yeah,
was it.
I know.
One last hurrah. No pay next month, motherfucker.
Good thing he's
Yeah,
good.
I
Good
got.
thing he's net
I've
30.
specifically put funds aside to top it up.
I specifically converted everything into fiat just so I could be like, I got none.
Yeah.
Everything over here is shoved into DYDX.
I mean, if Rama could wait until I finish my PhD and implement a CBDC, then it'd be even easier to get paid.
I do feel like quite the bag holder, usurper, quite the bag holder of DYDX.
I mean, we're right outside that set, and I just keep looking at it like this is the longest we've been out of the set. I think it died out Monday or Sunday or something. So it's been a few days. And
have you seen the latest?
What's
68% now in the top 3. Two of those are virtually a non-validators. The top validator has 100% commission. Very, very fucking confusing behavior on that chain.
Yeah, it's a bit shady.
The second validator, Ex Machina, has 25% commission.
Mm-hmm. And the third, isn't the third one 100% too? Oh no, or Course one's 4, I think, something like that.
Chorus is 3.
Oh, Course there's.
Figment is 4. But like the number one has 9.5 million tokens.
Yeah. Yeah, I reached out to the foundation.
Commission.
I mean, we talked to members of the foundation for 6 months and like just brought up, we talked about a lot of these types of issues early on, like just poor VP structures and like the concern related to this, and like how chains can halt and the governance aspect of things. And like, how even like a high VP makes the rest of the validator set basically miss blocks because they're so geographically far from the VP that if they're not in the right region, then they're just going to keep missing, and they'll never sign. Right? We've had that issue before as well. And well, we haven't had this issue, but obviously chains have had this issue. And so the foundation said they're still talking to Stride, but there's not enough history to understand how that team, it's not just Stride, but how that team wants to identify what validators and how they're going to do that, if they're going to do that in some sort of liquid staking structure. And number 2, there's also talk about expanding the set, but expanding the set helps us out because we're putting DYDX towards a validator that's actually signing blocks, but it doesn't change the situation in any way. Just it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do jack shit
for the network health. Like
it does jack shit for the network health. So
yeah, I mean, it's like all this theater every time, like fucking. But
this is pretty bad though.
Like top 3 is like
this is the worst I think I've seen in a small validator set, right? In terms of VP structure on very shady, or not necessarily shady, I shouldn't say that, unknown, anonymous, no history type validators, right? No Cosmos history.
Yeah.
100%. So I don't know, whatever. Yeah, and I think the Rama has another good point here. He says DYDX won't do shit about it because it's not run by us. And we were joking about that as well on a tweet that came out from the DYDX team earlier.
Well, they've made that very clear with their tweeters.
They make that over and overly clear every time.
First comment on every post: "We ain't running shit."
This is we just got here. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it was. What's DYDX, man? I don't know what you're talking about.
Huh? We heard of it. Yeah. So there's a.
Is that decentralized thing on the internet?
Is that what's a validator? Yeah, they stay away from that a good amount. I'm trying to find the tweet related to that. If I can find it here, I'll put it up real quick. But yeah, it's they really try to back away from that for sure. So I maybe it'll be fine. This was like this from the very beginning, but I actually thought that it wouldn't last this long in terms of from launch and from the point of these items coming together, or the chain launching and everything else associated to that. that we'd have a validator set like this. Like it's just, I think it's an extremely unhealthy set, and
I
it's
think
not really representation. Like it's not healthy at all.
it'll improve. I think at least Santorini, whoever that is tapped out in tokens now. They've got all of their shit staked, so they did it over time, I think, so that they didn't have a super majority of the network by the looks of it, but they've just staked the rest of their stuff. So I guess over time, like it's only a very small percentage of the total tokens is staked anyways, like less than 5%. I think it's like three point something percent. So I don't know. Hopefully as more people bring their tokens across, they will look down the list and go, oh, fucking
Yeah,
put some stuff lower. But
that hasn't proved true so far, but yeah, maybe.
who knows? Hanging in there is the hard part.
Yeah, exactly.
We luckily have received two,
Yeah,
relatively
I saw you just got
sizable.
you just got a big one yesterday, the day before, I thought.
Yeah, we got like a 42,000 and a 25,000 now. So that's sort of kept us up in the top half at least.
Do you know who that is or no?
No, just someone who likes the look of the cut of my jib.
Just being in the right spot.
Yeah, it's the orange. It stands out
What orange?
in my logo. It's like a yellowy orange.
That's gold. Is that what you mean? Color gold?
Yeah, that color. The gold color. Like
the yellowy orange.
really slaps you in the face. Sorry, I didn't know.
Funny.
I didn't know gold was on the color swatch.
You know what actually is doing? We've been watching a friend of the show, and who's been on before is Greg Shuri. I've been watching his Twitter. Like Akash is actually, the USD spend is like going nuts lately. Have you guys watched that at all?
No,
Like the revenue numbers. I mean, it's always been like a couple $100 a day type of idea, I think. And just recently, it's, I think maybe, I don't know if it's GPU related or maybe they got some big customers in there. Or it's the container side. I'm not sure what it is, but now it's like 10xing in the last couple of days. So maybe, I mean, they're very focused on what the daily numbers are, which I don't think is very interesting. It'd be more interesting to see month over month or year over year. But there's a big revenue. Not a big. I mean, $2,500 a day is $70,000 a month. It's not like, it's not significant in any sort of way, but still, like it's something.
But it is
going the right direction. Yeah, it's absolutely going the right direction. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they kept working all through the bear market. Like they implemented the GPU stuff, and I think, AI is big. That'll pay off eventually. But I hope that they've made, and I haven't used Akash in a while, but I hope that they've made improvements in like the usability of it and the cost, because previously it was getting to a point where it was like a similar cost to getting something that was a little easier to use. You know what I mean?
I thought it was, no, I think Frey did some work on this too early on. I think we were determining it was like way more expensive actually, right?
Akash.
Yeah.
So it was essentially the price of running on AWS, except that your node would be down.
Except that it wouldn't be working.
Except that you would be paying Amazon prices for something that was not working.
Yeah.
That was, to be fair, at the tail end of the bull market, so prices for everything were a lot higher.
Yeah.
But because of dynamic pricing, you would expect on the Akash marketplace that still to be relatively expensive. Now, and we talked about this at the time, like because various of folks that we know, including us, including I believe Schultzy, maybe Polka, and others were approached about running providers and running in exchange for validator delegations from the foundation and whatnot. But running providers and becoming a hosting company is, you don't want to go there. From a regulatory perspective, it's not worth it unless there's a lot of money on the table. There is not a lot of money on the table. So that was, I think that was in essence the problem there, right? If you are an infrastructure provider large enough to be a good infrastructure provider, like an actual data center company, you've you don't just build a data center and be like, let them come. I mean, well, some people probably do, right? But most people don't. Most people know who their first client is, blah blah blah. These are infrastructure, like it's called infrastructure for a reason at that level. It really is. And I don't think those guys are going to be looking to run providers on a cache because they already have a revenue stream. I don't know. People who are just running renting out a little bit of spare space in a rack or whatever, it's just not, or even reselling boxes, which I suspected what some of the provider issues we had when we were running. And this was a couple of years ago, like 18 months ago, so it's probably improved since. But I think that the reselling was probably part of the reason why we were getting shut down, because I was just like, well, maybe it's choking on network or any number of things where it's because there's one box that's got a bunch of cache stuff running on it in containers, and the actual owner of the hardware, whatever that company is, data center is, Hetzner, whoever, are just like, whoa, somebody's breaking our terms of service, shut down that box.
Right.
And then your RPC goes down and you're like, why has my RPC gone down? And the provider might actually be providing a solid service that should on paper not go down, but they breach Hetzner's TOS or whatever it might be, right? So yeah, I don't know. I always love the idea of a cache, but I
think the GPU thing is driving a lot too, though. I could see.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem...
I mean, maybe that piece of it in terms of there has to be. I mean, obviously the cloud vendors, but the ability to shard time associated to a GPU or something else like that. I think that sounds pretty cool. So, but yeah, it's good to see that there's revenue coming in. I hope it grows. Like, I hope that continues forward. Like, it's nice to. We always talked this before, like a long time ago, but I always like real world use cases that end up in these types of situations, like back in the Helium days or Akash and things like that. So I hope it continues. It's cool.
Yep. So I've gone down the rabbit hole of reading the Cosmos forum thread. That's why my brain is decomposing, because if you read too much of that shit, it will rot your brain.
Of course, I saw that there. The first thing I did is to do a Command F for 16. That's what. That was my first thing. Like, all right, who brought it up? Who brought it up?
Oh. Bam. Zaki. Do you want to cover any of the UMI osmosis shenanigans?
That's all no. I don't know shit about that.
I don't know shit about that either. It's the merger, right? I saw everyone has been skipping over it. So UMI, well, these were announcements this week. They got the fucking man. These are written so hard to understand. Anyway, I think UMI and Osmosis are proposing a merger of some description. I don't know why Osmosis would want to merge with anyone, but that is what was proposed by, I'm assuming, UMI. And the other one was shortly after that, Mars proposed to merge with Neutron. I guess this is because there are some efficiencies in the protocols, I guess, if you were to merge them. But I mean, why merge? Why not just shut down the chain and like run a contract on another chain? Like, some of these chains just don't need chains.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is effectively buying out UMI. It's called a merger to save people's feelings. But UMI is dead because UMI didn't really ever do anything.
But I mean, why merge at all? Why not just die?
I think Osmosis probably has the funds, and it allows them to add functionality very easily for probably a pretty low price. It's maybe a good Cosmos thing to do. Like, maybe
there's some acqui-hires involved.
It's a smart Osmosis move, I think, for sure. Like, and the other thing, like, we always talk about, like, validators are running out of cash. I mean, you can start to see some of these chains are running out of money, right? Like, which they've lasted a pretty long time. The derivative is not there. And I think this idea around mergers is like you're getting more and more and more. And also the next piece of news as well, right? Because didn't Mars talk about the same thing?
We were literally having this conversation, weren't we? Because
We did.
some of us validate Mars, never been profitable, never made any money on it, and it's just like, well, fuck, it's just want to fucking decommission that server. What's the fucking point?
We
It's
got pushed
just
out of the
dead
set, and I
ship.
think I was like, ooh.
I just,
okay with it.
I believe I just shut mine down earlier on. It was evident that it was not going to do anything. So, well, I mean, it was never going to be an earner. So we just, whilst we didn't have too many delegations, we shut it down.
Speaking of that, did you do anything with Kujira? Because you were threatening.
It's still there for the time being. We have lost a lot of delegations for seemingly no fucking reason whatsoever. So no, I don't know. I'll leave it there for the time being. We're still probably about midway in the set, but I still haven't given my refund because I can't get access to a archive node. I can't find anyone with an archive node. If anyone knows anyone with a synced up archive node, please
Kujira archive
hit
node?
me up. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
easy to get a hold of. You can send me a Twitter message or whatever, but Kujira archive seems to be like at this time non-existent. There is a team syncing one up on behalf of the Kujira team people, but yeah, as to where the history is coming from, I don't know. Someone out there must be running one on the network, but I can't find them. So if anyone knows anyone who's got a Kujira archive, please let me know so that I can get the information I need to do a refund.
That's really what this podcast is all about, is making sure that you get what you need and using this as a platform.
Yes. Delegate DYDX.
So I've just reread the GovProp for Neutron Mars merger, and it's actually essentially deploy new Mars functionality on Neutron first, keep Mars chain running as the Gov chain for the Mars protocol. But are there any Mars devs left? Because the only two that I know of are no longer working for Mars. So what is Neutron paying $3 million for if the devs aren't there anymore? They can't implement any functionality on Neutron because there are no devs. There have been no upgrades on Mars. There's been no security upgrades on Mars. Yeah.
Merger.
Maybe I've misunderstood. But that's
no, I think you're.
But from the wording on there,
Larry?
it seems like it seems like the Gov chain continues as a ghost town.
Yeah, Larry's not at Mars anymore, right?
No.
No.
So who is there then? Who was that started by? Are they Anons?
Delphi, I think. Or somebody funded by Delphi as some people. I don't know.
So is it just Ghost protocol just operating?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I only knew of 2 devs, and they're not there anymore.
Interesting. But it was so.
See,
It's
Ram is shouting in the comments, being like, "The Mars chain will die," and it's like, well, that's not what it says in the actual text of the proposal.
He keeps screaming for us to read the headlines.
It's like, read the headline. Read the forum post.
They stink.
Like, yeah.
This is why we haven't executed the contract. Okay, maybe not.
Oh, okay.
Did you read the headline?
I've read all the way down to the bottom. And yeah, okay. It's at the end of the migration period, the token does move over to a new contract on the Neutron chain. Do you want to guess how long in the future that is?
5 years.
No, 1 year.
Oh, well, it's still a very long time.
The thing is, though, we can get ahead of that by just turning off Mars tomorrow. We need a Polka cheese style curb, like curb proposal. Kill it. What was it? Put down the 3-headed dog or whatever it was. We should just like sunset Mars or something, whatever. Just like they're just about to make $3 million and go off into the sunset, and the validator set just turns off. Because the validator set never going to make a fucking cent. Like, we're never going to make a cent. We're never going to make any money. Even if this migrates, we're not going to make any money. We've just been running hardware for a year for no fucking reason. That's thousands and thousands of dollars, probably $10,000, maybe more, sunk into that. I don't even know. Substantial amount of money. Just like, well, we're not going to make a fucking cent from this. This has been a big loss maker. Maybe we should just turn off the chain, and then you guys don't get to walk away with $3 million. How about that?
Yeah, 3 million USDC is a pretty large number for this.
Yeah, I think we should just turn off Mars as validators.
Option B.
That'd be kind of funny. Option B, no merger, nothing. If we don't make money, you don't make money, because that's how keeping your stakeholders happy works. That prop going on chain in 5 minutes time.
What is
Put it up.
naming right?
Just put up a software upgrade proposal with a halt height and no plan.
That's it.
It's just
That's
halt height. Oh, what's happened? Oh, the commit that you should run at this halt height is one that Frey has written, which just halts the chain and then immediately app hashes.
That's it.
That's it. Bam.
That is the upgrade.
Yeah, the upgrade is whatever you do after this, you will app hash. It's just time.now.
I think, Mars definitely wanted you to read the Mars will join the three-headed dog. He's gone ahead and said it himself.
Yeah, Mars will join the three-headed dog. 100%.
Could you imagine the frustration of poor Rama being our sole supplier of news and having to listen to us butcher it every single fucking week?
Yes.
Yes, I can. I'm a software engineer now. I have spent my entire life being the butt of the joke of a senior manager who doesn't understand what we do, who can't explain what the vision is, trying to, just get another feather in their cap. And whenever you do get into the room with people like that, they're just like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh my God, they have no idea what project they commissioned from us. They have no idea what the outcomes were. They have no idea what we did. And they're just explaining it away like it's something it does, which it doesn't do. Why am I here? Why do we do what we do? What a pointless life.